Hey y'all, Jackie here, and today I'm going to show you how to upcycle an old jean jacket. The ubiquitous jean jacket. It's a wardrobe staple, goes with everything, never goes out of style. Mixed with jeans, you even have a tuxedo. But what if you have two or three? Sure, you could just rotate wearing them. One might be heavier or lighter, or maybe you throw one in your car for emergencies. But you know what else a jean jacket is? It's a blank canvas. Upcycled jean jackets are an awesome thing, and when I got two spare ones from a friend, I shoved them in my closet with every intention of doing so. But the problem is, sometimes a blank canvas can be overwhelming. With so many options, it can be hard to find a place to start, which is why they've hung in my closet for like 8 years. So when I started this whole UFO thing, these jackets were pretty high up on my to-do list. But where do you start? How do you begin? The options are overwhelming. Do you want to cut out the back, draw on it, paint on it, add trim? There are too many options. My advice, and how I finally got these bitches out of my closet and onto my dress form, is to pick a vibe, color, concept, or an outfit you want to match and start from there. I knew I wanted to do a punk-inspired jacket and a girly kind of white, pretty, sparkly inspired jacket. The punk one, I had a firmer idea of what I wanted, so we're gonna start with that one, and then the other one will be another video for another day. I had a Kills patch I picked up at one of their shows. It's really nice looking, and I knew I wanted to include that. So I pinned it on the front of my jacket and hung my jacket up on my dress form. The patch gave me my color scheme too. It's black with gold and red. So I started hitting up my usual sites, looking for trim. I picked out a couple of things that I thought would look good. I do recommend buying at least 2 yards of trim, unless you already know what you're going to do, and then can measure and go from there. After all, it can't hurt to have a little extra on hand for other projects. Right when I was starting this project, I kind of rediscovered Janet Jackson's album Rhythm Nation 1814. If you watch the music video for that track, which I highly recommend, it's awesome, she wears this great military style jacket. And it got me thinking about the late 80s, early 90s thing, which is, in my opinion, very highly underrated. Those styles are so great, guys. And the idea played right into this sort of punk military vibe I was already going for. So I sort of wiggled away from the spiky punk rock thing and maneuvered into the late 80s vibe. I got 2 really awesome appliques on sale from Mood that matched my patch almost exactly. These are the base for my epaulettes. These are the epaulettes that I purchased originally for this project. And they're cool looking, I like them, but first of all, they're falling apart, and I haven't even really done anything but move them around my apartment for a couple of years. And they're also really strange. They're meant for somebody who is not my size. Let's just put it that way. And they've got this weird kind of flippy flop thing happening here that I don't like. So originally I was just going to give these away, and then I was thinking, well, I spent all this money on this, I might as well take it apart and use it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use my handy dandy seam ripper and rip out all of the rhinestones and use them for both of my jean jacket projects. I have these 2 little candle things. I always save the glass containers for my candles because they make really good storage things that come with lids and everything. So I'm going to separate it out. The black and the gold are going to go on the 80s jacket, and all of the clear stuff is going to go for the other jacket that I'm making that doesn't have a theme yet. All right, I'm going to get started. Alrighty, that is that. That surprisingly only took about 15 minutes, which was nice. I was expecting that to take ages, but it didn't, so that's good. I've got lots of fun stuff in here. I don't know if I'll actually use all of this chain in this one for the white jacket, but I have it there anyway, and if I don't use it, I'm sure I can find another use for it. But I'm super excited about all of these beads. These are going to go probably on my epaulettes first, and then if I don't use them all, I'll probably embellish the collar or something. We'll see. This is a pants project and not a plan project. So we'll see where we end up. When we end up, there. Okay. I used Bella May's awesome tutorial to make the epaulettes, which is linked in the description below. First, I cut out my base shape. Then I cut out 4 from cardstock. Then for the outside, I cut out 4 with a 1/2 inch seam allowance from some random polycotton blend I had lying around. I didn't have cotton batting for the padding, but I did have some random black felt. I cut out another 4 shapes with a 1/2 inch seam allowance from that. Then I cut out another 2 using a tiny seam allowance. Then I cut out the appliques I bought to put on top of the epaulettes. These things are so sparkly. I then spent a good deal of time arranging and sewing on all of the black rhinestones I took off the original epaulettes. Then I glued all of the layers together to make 2 tops and 2 bottoms. This took ages and is not very entertaining, so we're gonna skip that bit and get to the rest of the construction. The halves were a little wobbly, and since I'm hard wearing on my stuff, I glued 2 popsicle sticks to each one to stabilize them. Then I hot glued each back and each front together to make an epaulette sandwich. Then I added some fringe, and over the fringe, some more ribbon, 'cause it's like my mama always says, it ain't done till it's overdone. Then I hand-stitched 3 safety pins to the back of each epaulette, and they were ready to go. I'm a visual person, so for me the best way to get a plan was just to slap the trim over my jacket and stare at it for a while. Eventually, I started fiddling with it, testing it out on different parts of the jacket until I landed on something I liked. All right, everyone, I'd like to introduce you to my dear friend Gertrude. Gertrude is my dress form. She's not really fit to my size. She just kind of lives in my apartment usually because she's old and was cheap and is literally on her last leg. So I usually just keep her around for display. And because this jacket is something I'm kind of winging and eyeballing as I go, this is a great thing to do for this because I can live with it for a little bit. I've got everything pinned, I made some adjustments, and then when I'm finally ready on a design, then I can go ahead and sew it. And she lives in my living room, so I see her all the time, I'm looking at it all the time, I'm thinking about it all the time. Before last night, I was living with this and I thought that I kind of wanted to add more to it. But last night I finished the epaulettes, and when I put them on, that's a lot of look. I mean, even for me, that's a lot of look. So I think I am going to stick kind of with this for now. I do want to do some fun things on the back, but before I do that, I need to figure out how much trim I have left. Because 100% I want this here. So what I'm going to do today is I am going to hand baste this wide ribbon onto this jacket and then get it sewn. And then I can figure out how much of it I have left to do possibly something on the back. And so you can see my red thread that I used. And it is extremely loosely woven. I think if I try and do this on the machine, first of all, it's going to be moving around all over the place. And also this jacket is super thick. It's got all of this binding and stuff on here. So long story short, I think it's going to be easier for me, for this braid at least, to hand stitch it. So that's what I'm going to do. I don't know how I'm going to handle the other stuff because it's kind of a different fabric. But yeah, that's the plan. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this stitched. So last night I decided that my time was more important than getting this trim on perfectly. So I ended up machine stitching almost all of this silver trim down. Gold trim. The only part that I ended up hand stitching was from about here down. And actually you probably can't see that because of where we're, okay. So from about here down, and the reason I did that is because that's the pocket right here. And so if I stitched over that, I'd lose about an inch worth of pocket, and I'm not okay with that. Pocket's got to be big. So I did hand stitch that down. I also took some of this trim and sewed it on the back. I'll show you that later when it's all done, because if I try and turn her, she's gonna fall apart. I mean, as you can see, even if I just touch her, she's like a weeble wobble, except she does fell down. My next challenge is going to be this rhinestone stuff, and I love this rhinestone stuff. It's so freaking sparkly. You can't see right now because of the lighting, but it is incredible. The only catch is that it's iron-on / sew-on, and the backing to it is kind of almost like a plasticky, clear plasticky strip. And it's not easy to get my needle through. I tried last night because I was thinking, oh, well, I'll just, you know, hand stitch the bottom like I did with the rest of the trim so that I can keep going. But it really, to sew it, I'm going to need the power of the sewing machine. But then I run into the problem of, again, my pocket. So what I think I'm going to do is iron this little section where the pocket is down. I'm hesitant to iron the whole thing, one, because iron-on never sticks, and two, this trim, I'm not sure how that's going to deal with the heat of the iron. I'm really going to have to be careful with it. So I'm going to sew as much as I can, and then I'll just tack that on, and then if I have to, I'll do a little bit of whip stitching, but I have yet to get my thimbles in the mail, and it's gonna hurt. So hopefully the ironing will keep it on and okay. But otherwise, once I get all of this trim on, once I get the trim on the back, then all I have left to do is add the chains and the patch, the kills patch. Using a spare bit of muslin as a pressing cloth, I set about trying to iron on this trim. I had quite a few issues getting it to stick. Okay, so it turns out my iron wasn't hot enough, and that was the issue, because as soon as I bumped it up and put water in there and got the steam going, it melded pretty good. I'm still going to probably run one stitch, just to be on the safe side, but I think we're gonna be okay. It looks pretty good. Then I set about sewing the rhinestones down, with only 1 or 2 minor issues. This is what I was afraid of. Why are you beeping at me? Okay, well, that's 1, 2 more down. All right, well, that's this done. And it looks really good. It's all sewn on there. This was an absolute pain in the ass. 100% do not recommend trying to sew this stuff on here. I mean, it looks great, it's worth it, but to do these 3 took me at least a half an hour, and partially because it kept freezing every time it hit a rhinestone, and it's almost impossible to keep it going straight because you can't really see. And also, my bobbin thread is slightly thicker than my top thread, and I'm not really sure how that happens, because I don't have the thicker thread anywhere. In any case, I am so glad to be done with that. I also possibly have ruined this needle. I think I'm still going to try and use it for my patch, but after that I think it's going in the trash because it kept getting sticky with the tacky stuff on the back of the rhinestones. Then I pinned on the badge and basted it and took it over to the machine. It went off without too many issues, and all that was left to be done was remove the basting stitches. Can you see in this lighting how sparkly those rhinestones are? Oh my god. Alright, that is the patch sewn on, and let me tell you, I am very, very glad that I did the basting first, because that was kind of weird. I kind of sewed over the design in a couple of places. It was just so hard to see between the foot and the light. I, in retrospect, probably should have used a zipper foot or something that had a slimmer profile so I could see. So bank that if you're going to sew on a patch, use a slimmer foot. So now all I have left to do is sew on the chain, which I'm going to put here. I might put a little bit of chain on the back as well. It's going to depend because I have this concern about it catching on things. I'm such a klutz, so we'll see. So yeah, I'm super excited. I cannot wait to finish this and wear it in 5 months when it is no longer 100 degrees. But that's okay, because it's done and it's off my pile and I can move on to something else. I ended up only using 3 of the safety pins per epaulette because it took forever and hurt my hands to sew them. Now I'm going to pin on the epaulettes to each shoulder. Note to anyone doing it this way, make sure your safety pins are all facing the right direction. Mine are not, and this took an insanely long time to do because I could not get all of the pokey bits in at the same time. Okay, moving on. Alright, Gertie, come on. There we go. Alright. Now we just have the chains left. I made a little rosette with the leftover epaulette trim. I sewed some backing onto another safety pin. Then I glued the chain and the backing to the back of the rosette. Then glued another little circle of fabric to the front to serve as a base for the rhinestones. Side note, I didn't realize until this moment how many green tables I own. Outside, I glued on some Swarovski crystals to serve as the center of my rosette using handy dandy E9000, and we were ready to put this guy on. I pinned it using yet another safety pin under the epaulette. Ta-da! I have everything pinned on just like magic, and yeah, we are ready for the dance party. I mean, the reveal. Okay, so for all of my former dance colleagues who may stumble upon this video, do you remember all those times I pretended I could do hip hop and then just stirred the clouds and pulled up my pants? You're about to see precisely why I did that. What you're about to view is not going to be pretty. If you're a hip hop dancer, a dancer, anyone who's even remotely discerning about such things, you may want to fast forward and avoid the torture that's inevitably about to follow. For those of you who are gluttons for punishment, I bring you the reveal. Obviously, for copyright reasons, I can't play the real song I'm listening to, but if you want to turn on Rhythm Nation at home and play along, you can. I'm gonna do this in one take. 77 degrees in here. I'm in a turtleneck and a jacket. Here we go, bitches. I am so happy with the way this jacket turned out. It's basically my personality on denim. It might be a little showy for some, but I've never been known for my subtlety. It's a shame that I can't wear it yet, but at least it's done and ready to go when it finally gets cool enough. This really didn't take me that long to put together. Upcycling a denim jacket is easily a weekend project if you know what you're going to do beforehand. If you're like me and kind of winging it, it might take a little longer, but in the long run, hopefully you'll have something you end up with that you absolutely love. If you are inspired to upcycle your own jackets, I would love to see the results. Otherwise, if you like this video, make sure to hit the thumbs up button. And if you'd like to further support me, please hit the subscribe button. I'll see y'all later. Whoa, that's an angle for you. Whoa. Okay, sorry. Let's put this back down. Have I cut my head off this time? What just happened? Oh. Have I cut my head off this time? Have I?